Welcome to page 83, 7b. What I enjoy is a heart-to-heart chat. Speaking and listening. Discuss the questions. Number 1. What have you read online today? How typical is this of your online reading? Which of these headlines might you click on and why? Okay, we got a lot of headlines right here like celebrity plastic surgery revealed. So you're going to choose one of these headlines, or 2 or 3, the ones you may click on, and you're going to write that for number 1 and 2, right? It's like how typical and which ones and why. And then we're going to go to letter B. On letter B says, read the blurb from a book by Ethan Zuckerman. Does he believe the internet makes us more or less connected? Okay, we're going to read this blurb and then what do the highlighted words in the blurb mean? Okay, so let's go and read it. It says, Rewire by Ethan Zuckerman. We live in an age of connection, one that is accelerated by the internet. This increasingly ubiquitous, immensely powerful technology often leads us to assume that as the number of people online grows, it inevitably leads to a smaller, more cosmopolitan world. We'll understand more, we think. We'll know more, we'll engage more and share more with people from other cultures. In reality, it is easier to ship bottles of water from Fiji to Atlanta than it is to get news from Tokyo to New York. In Rewire, media scholar and activist Ethan Zuckerman explains why the technological ability to communicate with someone does not inevitably lead to increased human connection. Okay, this is his opinion about it. So as we read it, you have to answer, does he believe the internet makes us more or less connected? What do you think? So answer that. Also write the answer to what do the highlighted words in the blurb mean? Okay, well I can show you right here so you can check what accelerate means, ubiquitous, immensely, inevitably, cosmopolitan, and engage. Okay, so you can pause the video and write down the definitions. Okay? Now, the blurb suggests that shipping bottles of water is easier than sharing information between diverse cultures. Do you agree? Why or why not? Answer that question to letter D yourself. Okay, now on letter E, you're going to listen to a media expert, Zelda Freeman, discussing Rewire, you know, the article we just read. Summarize the main point the book makes according to Zelda. So according to Zelda, what do you think the main point of the book is? Okay, so let's listen and find out.
Track 3.31. Welcome to From My Bookshelf, the weekly program where guests talk about a book that they think everyone should read. This week's guest is media expert and commentator Zelda Freeman. Welcome, Zelda. Thank you very much for being here today. Tell us about your book.
The most intriguing book I've read in the past few years, Rewire by Ethan Zuckerman. He's an academic, and he thinks deeply about the role of media in our society.
Zuckerman, the main thing about his book, I hear, is that he's challenging the myth about the internet. Is that true?
Yes, the myth. And what's interesting is that we only think we're more connected, but the point he's making is that we're actually wrong. In some ways, the net manages to isolate us.
So we're all connected together, but we're isolating ourselves. That sounds like a contradiction. How's that possible?
Well, use myself as an example. I use the internet to find out news. I read a lot of newspapers online, but it's only British ones that I read. There's nothing stopping me from reading an English language newspaper in China. It's just a click away, but I don't. What Zuckerman is saying is that the internet is a very powerful tool, but very few of us exploit it to its full potential.
I have to ask, does it matter?
Well, yes. The reason why it matters is that we're living in an age of economic and physical connection. Our economies are connected. So if the share market in the US sneezes, then we all feel the effects. A dangerous virus breaks out somewhere in the world and it can travel around the globe very quickly. And more people are moving around. What we really need to understand is how other countries and cultures work. We're more linked into each other than we used to be, so we need to be a lot more cosmopolitan.
But in the 21st century, I'm sure a lot of people already know this. does it actually matter if we don't do anything about it?
Well, good point. I mean, Zuckerman makes a very good point about that. We tend to think we know more than we actually do. It's a kind of false cosmopolitanism. And he uses this example because we know we could, in theory, read the Times of India online, but we almost begin to imagine that we actually do that, although in reality, we don't. It's the possibility of connection that means we begin to think of ourselves as being cosmopolitan.
So we begin to think that a possibility is a reality.
Exactly. I mean, that's fine for many things, but as far as the internet is concerned, I really think we need to think about it a bit more.
So why do you think that we don't connect more?
Well, Zuckerman suggests that our online behaviour is not that different from our offline behaviour. So, for example, we form social groups according to the people we meet as we grow up, and we get together with people with similar attitudes and interests.
So like we do in social media, we only friend people we want to actually be friends with.
Yes, that's right. What we don't do is explore much beyond that. But the thing is, we actually have the potential to do that.
So does Zuckerman himself, does he have any suggestions?
Well, he says that all we need to do is disconnect from our current way of thinking and rewire. We all have to learn to behave in a very different way.
How?
That's the problem. It's a challenge. You need to identify what he calls bridge figures. These are people who are able to translate ideas from one culture to another. They can explain it, give it context, and they help us to understand it.
So like in some kind of magazine or journal?
No, not really. He means being much freer than that. So, for instance, bloggers. These are people who have a passion for this kind of thing. Their information needs to be open and accessible, and therefore it's free for everyone.
Won't this just be more information online that people don't read?
So, as I mentioned before, business and politics are more and more connected. And business and political leaders need to be genuinely cosmopolitan in this day and age. So people who are bridge figures are likely to assume more and more important roles in business and also in politics. They've rewired already. So if we want to do well in the world, we need to rewire as well.
Okay, after you listened and read to the script, okay, you answer that question. And then on letter F, listen again and note down examples Zelda gives of our current online behavior. All the way from 1 to 4, you're going to give and note some examples, okay? So you can go back and listen to it again. So how similar is your online behavior to your offline behavior? Describe someone you know whose online and offline behavior is different. What's your opinion on this? You also need to answer these questions. Okay, then we go right here on the top to grammar, cleft sentences. Now match the sentences halves, then listen and check. Okay, we're going to have them, this is one half and this is the other half. Okay, so let's play so you can start matching them.
Track 3.32. 1C.
What's interesting is that we only think we're more connected.
2E.
The point he's making is we're wrong.
3A.
The reason why it matters is we're living in an age of economic and physical connection.
4D.
The thing we need to understand is how other countries and cultures work.
5B.
All we need to do is disconnect from our current way of thinking and rewire.
Okay, these are the matched sentences and you can look at the answer key and that's how you need to have the answers. Okay, so the question about cleft sentences is like you're completing an idea, you're making a point, you're doing some emphasis on some information. So on letter B says, what information is being emphasized in each sentence into A? And you can write down these answers. The information all the way from A through E that follows each sentence, each cleft structure from 1 to 5. So actually the information that goes next to it, it's called a cleft sentence. This is the information we're emphasizing and we call them cleft sentences because it's information we're giving emphasis to. Okay? So in 2A, the cleft part of the sentence is in bold. What verbs joins the cleft to the rest of the sentence? Okay? Well, be. The verb to be is the one that joins them together. Okay, that is your answer. Now on letter D, in 2A, the cleft part of the sentence, pronunciation. Listen to the examples in 2A again. Does the tone of the phrase in bold fall or fall and rise? Okay, let's listen and find out.
Check 3.32. 1C.
What's interesting is that we only think we're more connected.
2E.
The point he's making is we're wrong.
3A.
The reason why it matters is we're living in an age of economic and physical connection.
4D.
The thing we need to understand is how other countries and cultures work.
5B.
All we need to do is disconnect from our current way of thinking and rewire.
Okay, so if you listen carefully, the answer would be fall and rise. Okay, it goes down and it goes up while you're pronunciating. Okay, now go to Grammar Focus 7B on page 151. What you're going to do is you're going to send the answers to these exercises, okay? So match the sentences halves. You can check your answers right here. These are the answers for letter A. Check that you have them correctly. These would be your answers to B, okay, right here. You pause the video and check that you have them correctly. And this would be the answers to exercise C, okay? So you need to send me those answers. You're going to go back to page 83 again and says, change these sentences to cleft sentences that begin with the phrases in italics. Then listen and check. Okay, so you're going to start to do your cleft sentences beginning from here. Okay, so listen to them so you can complete them.
Check 3.35. 1.
What we don't need is Wi-Fi all over town.
2.
It's only at work that I use the internet.
3.
All we have to do is unsubscribe from social media to help us reconnect.
4.
What's incredible is just how liberating it is to go digital.
5.
The reason it worries me is because people end up living in virtual worlds and losing touch with reality.
As you heard the examples, you can see there's a fall and rise in the intonation. So your answers, according to the audio, would be these, okay? So check them and write them completely. You can pause the video and look at them. In G, use the phrases below to tell your partner about your own internet use. This time we have 3 beginnings of sentences. You're going to complete it with a cleft sentence, okay? And you're also going to write these 3 examples for letter G. And this will be a work for page 83. Thank you very much and see you next class.